blows me away how many women don't know the difference between their vagina and their vulva. It just points to the fact that we largely don't get an education about our bodies.
I have an extra special guest today for one of our expert interviews. The amazing Megan Rabbitt is here, who is an award-winning journalist and author of The New Rules of Women's Health. And I'm very excited to talk with her about it today.
The first one that really pops out to me is like, all women before me have suffered, so I'll probably suffer too. Personally, for years, I ignored very debilitatingly heavy periods. I just thought it was one of the bummers of being a woman. And it really wasn't until learning more about the menstrual cycle and what's normal and what's not. I actually did have a conversation with my doctor and find out I had a uterus full of fibroids.
That just gave me shivers when you said that.
Yeah, I mean, so at so many turns, I was surprised. We've been letting other people make the rules for us. It's time to make some for ourselves, you know?
Was there anything that really stuck out to you that you wish women knew kind of about their cyclical health, about their hormonal health specifically in their midlife, their 30s, 40s, and 50s?
Yeah, I think
I'm excited for you to be here too. You have a fascinating story, like writing about women's health and wellness, as a journalist, kind of making it simple for people and like translating that science into real life, I think, for women is really, really cool. So, how did you get here? What inspired you to write this book? And yeah,
yeah.
tell us the things.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun story actually. So I have been a health journalist for going on almost 25 years now.
Okay.
Started my career in magazines in New York and have been really lucky to have written for a lot of big magazines. And when I went freelance, I started writing for, Women's Health, Prevention magazine. And I got a really cool assignment for prevention on women and brain health and why women disproportionately suffer from Alzheimer's to the
Mhm.
tune of like two-thirds of cases of Alzheimer's are actually women, which I didn't realize before I dove into that story. And so I did the reporting on the story. And then, as part of the piece, my editor asked if I would interview Maria Shriver as a
Oh,
one page profile to go along with the feature. And I, of course, jumped at the opportunity. How amazing to interview such an amazing health advocate,
yeah.
women's health advocate. And after the piece came out, Maria called me and she asked if I would come work for her weekly digital news magazine called the Sunday Paper.
Oh my gosh, that's
So I
amazing.
was thrilled. I mean, when Maria Shriver calls you after a story comes out, my heart sank and I was like,
Yeah,
oh gosh,
you're like, which
did
way is
fact
this
checking
going?
right? I was like, did fact checking miss something? Did I get something wrong? And no, in her very Maria Shriver way, she called to tell me she loved the piece and would I come work for her. So, about a year into writing for the Sunday paper, she asked me to write this book for her imprint at Penguin Random House. She said,
Oh,
Megan, you've been a health journalist for 2 decades. You are steeped in this, and we don't have a women's health book that really covers everything from
yeah.
puberty through menopause
Yeah.
and even beyond. And I think really we have many great health books. Let's not be mistaken there. So many great resources. But really, what I aim to do with this book is I interviewed over 100 expert sources to really try to give women the education we need about our bodies so that we can feel empowered and advocate for ourselves.
That's incredible. That's an amazing story. And congratulations, first of all. And I think we're all very excited for the book to come out. Did you find like when you were interviewing, so you interviewed 100 people?
Yeah, way over a
Way
hundred,
over 100.
but 132 voices made it into the book. Experts, researchers, dietitians, clinicians, and all female.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Was there anything in these interviews, and I'm sure there were many, but like were there a couple things that really stuck out with you that made you think, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that," or really question some of these rules that we'd been taught?
Yeah, I mean, so at so many turns, I was surprised. At so many
Really?
turns, I was like, gosh, if I don't know this and I've been steeped in health information for so long, a lot of other women probably don't know this. And I think, when I think about it as a whole, interviewing so many doctors, clinicians, researchers, one thing that really came out is how many of them said that, women often apologize in their offices for our biology. Dr. Elizabeth Coleman, who's a breast oncologist, said, I can't tell you the number of women who apologize that they didn't wear deodorant or that they didn't shave their legs,
Oh,
and these are
yeah.
women dealing with breast cancer. And then there's gynecologists who told me, gosh, like, it blows me away how many women don't know the difference between their vagina and their vulva. And that's
Yeah.
not to say there's anything wrong with that. I think it just points to the fact that we largely don't get an education about our bodies.
Yeah. Yes, it's the
And
miseducation.
yeah, miseducation and lack of education, right? It's like in
Mhm.
health class, I know I got like, the very basics that left me quite confused as an 11-year-old, in health class.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of do that information yourself. And I think right now we're in this wonderful time where there's a lot of information, but the shadow side of that is that there's a lot of misinformation
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
health, right? You can feel like you're in the middle of a health misinformation chaos, really. And so I think why it felt important to write this book right now is
Yeah.
to help give women evidence-based information to educate us about our bodies so that we come to our doctors, to
Yeah.
caring for ourselves and our families, and also just to Instagram or wherever we're getting our social media and saying,
Yeah.
I think I need to question this information,
Mhm.
not just take it on board.
That's brilliant. I love that you shared that because although I mean, I got into sort of the women's health and hormone space, after I'd worked in just fitness and nutrition for a long time, when I was 37. So about what's that, almost 8 years ago now. And I mean, you couldn't, like, I didn't even know the word perimenopause at that time. So whereas now, like, you can't even open social media, I think, if you're a woman in this age box and not see 100 different things talking about hormones, menopause, midlife, women, all of this kind of thing. And it can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's
It's overwhelming. I think the upside of it is like we're finally talking about some of these taboo topics.
absolutely.
So I'm right in it, right? I'm 46 years old. I can't go out to dinner. I can't go to coffee with a girlfriend, go
Yeah.
for a walk with anyone. And even frankly, in at dinners with couples now, like my husband will be there, we'll be, sitting at the table and we're talking about hot flashes
Yeah.
and dry vaginas. And it's
Yeah.
amazing, like it's amazing that we're
Yeah.
doing this now, and so yeah, I think we're entering a really cool era where we're starting to um talk about these once taboo topics that our moms and our grandmas and our aunties just didn't talk about.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for many women, I will commonly ask my clients, like, when did your mom go through menopause? And they'll be like, well, I don't know. We've never talked about it. So that is sort of changing, as you're saying. And it sounds like the book is doing a really great job of educating women so that they can unapologetically advocate for themselves.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think we in the menopause space are doing such a good job of
Yeah.
turning this once taboo topic into something that we freely talk about. But I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of other aspects of women's health that we can do the same with,
Yeah.
like puberty, sexual
Oh,
health,
yeah.
our immune health, our
Yeah.
brain health, our heart health. We need to start talking about all of these topics so
Yeah.
that we get the care we deserve, so that we're caring for ourselves, and frankly, so that more research dollars keep going into all these areas where they're so desperately needed.
Absolutely. I'm always shocked by the numbers there around the gender gap, I would call it, or what we hear it as in terms of that
Yeah.
research for women. It's
Yeah.
vast.
It
I'm sure
certainly
you know
is.
that.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some of the biggest or most common, myths or old rules that we are following?
Yeah, I think, you know, first, the first one that really pops out to me is like all women before me have suffered, so I'll probably suffer too. I think
Mhm.
about this in terms of, let's say with menopause, it's like, well, my mom dealt with crazy hot flashes. I guess that's my fate.
Yeah.
Or even if it's not, even if it's outside of your family, I'll speak personally. For years, I ignored very debilitatingly heavy periods.
Mm.
I just thought it was the one of the bummers of being a woman, and I was going to have my monthly quote unquote hemorrhage, as I kind of joked around about it.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until learning more about the menstrual cycle and what's normal and what's not, and when I should speak up, that I actually did have a conversation with my doctor and find out I had a uterus full of fibroids steroids. And so yeah, so that's a big myth, is that we should just chug along and buck up, buttercup, like you're a woman, you're gonna suffer. And I think no more. That's a big one.
Do you think that, does in your experience writing, and I know you primarily have written women's health for this kind of thing, but is that ability to just, oh, I'm just gonna suck it up and kind of continue to push through, is that a more female thing in your experience?
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think so. I feel like women, we take care of so much at home. We take care of kids. We take care of older parents. And that's not to say that many men don't do the same. But
Yeah.
I think there's this attitude of just like, well, just buck up,
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is really hard and I can do hard things.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Yeah.
Women do so much and we can do hard things. And it's amazing. And when it comes to our health specifically, I think we're in a new era where it's time to know what's in the realm of normal and what's not, so that we can get the care we deserve.
Yeah.
I'm actually reminded right now when you asked that question of a doctor I interviewed, Dr. Vonda Wright. She's an orthopedic surgeon
I do know.
and who has an amazing book out. And she, oh my gosh, she said to me, Megan, it's not the men who's I'm standing next to at the bedside who are saying, I have such a high pain tolerance, I'm okay, it's all good. It's the women. And these are women with shattered hips and broken bones and conditions that they should really be in agony. And they're like, I'm okay, I'm okay. The crazy part about that is that when you don't accurately express your pain and talk about your pain and get treatment for that pain, it can get worse.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big message. It's like, it's not that you're weak, it's not that you're not strong when you're talking about these things with your health that are coming up for you. It's just, let's get you the care you deserve.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder about just our mistrust in our own body. Like I think
Yeah.
because all you're saying here is like we need to listen to what our body is saying and honor her needs as opposed to just bowling over and kind of diminishing them and gaslighting them and shrinking them down. Does that feel like that makes sense with the research that you've done?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that many women can talk about experiences where they have been gaslit or where they have been
Yeah.
brushed off. Even the doctors that I have interviewed for this book have said, I can't tell you patients who come to me who said another doctor told them, oh, you're having pain with sex, just have a glass of wine, maybe relax a little.
Oh, gosh.
This is 2025, but I think there's also an element that you're beautifully getting at here, which is we can gaslight ourselves.
Yeah.
Again, I'll speak personally, years and years of heavy periods, anemia, that I just kind of was chugging through and just figured, you know what, maybe I can just power my way through this. And then finally, actually working on this book and interviewing doctors and learning about what's normal, what's not, and being able to ask smarter questions with multiple doctors, I landed on, oh, I actually think I need a hysterectomy here. And at age 45, that's what happened. So the more we're able to, educate ourselves and have the language we need about our health to
Yeah.
talk to our doctors and frankly each other, I just think the better we'll feel and the better care we'll get.
Yeah. What better review of your own book in that you learned, like things changed for you just in the research and the doing and the creating of this baby?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's, I was so steeped in the reporting of this book and writing it for 3 years. And it's, the fact that I was so surprised at a number of turns was like, wow, like, yeah, I mean, another big one that comes to mind, that really a habit that I totally embraced, is strength training. I
Mm,
realized in
mhm.
in my mid 40s that, like, gosh, I am talking to clinician after clinician, researcher after researcher, who says basically it is one of the best ways as a woman to
Yeah.
really help your health now and protect your health for the future. And so I really started prioritizing a strength training routine.
Oh, I love that. I love hearing that more and more as well from the experts, like out in the interwebs and the social lands as well. It's so nice to hear that kind of because even, we grew up in that very cardio era, didn't we? It was like you never saw girls in the weight room. You were always seeing the women on the treadmills, on the stair climbers, on the ellipticals. Like that was it. It was I had no idea anything about weights until I was into my 20s. So um it's
Totally
great.
agree.
It's great to share this information.
Yeah.
I know I am excited. I'm very excited to get the book in the hands of a lot of my listeners, but are there any other myths that are really sticky for you that you think we should know about and can share now?
Yeah, I think, maybe it's not a myth, but one thing I think that really became clear to me after working on this book is that our lived experience matters.
Mm,
We can't outsource our health completely.
yeah,
Yes, our doctors are well trained and have so much education and ideally can work with us in shared decision making. But that's a real key. A lot of the doctors I talked to for this book, they are focused on shared decision making.
yeah,
And if you're going to share that decision making with your doctor, you need to take ownership and really be able to say, oh, actually, this is what's happening for me, And even though we're women and we take care of kids, we take care of older parents, we keep, I had one doctor, Dr. Lisa Larkin, who's an amazing women's health practitioner, say, oftentimes the dog gets more vet appointments than we
yeah,
get when we're, and particularly in midlife,
yeah,
because you're busy with work and kids and keeping all the balls in the air, and
yeah,
I think that's something else we really need to embrace, which is like now's the time because in midlife we have an opportunity to really assess our health and figure out what needs to change,
yeah.
what am I doing great, so that because now's the time where we make changes now, we can prevent things like osteoporosis later on and heart disease and things like that.
I love that you said that because I have come to think of this phase of our life as a gift, that we didn't ask for, but that we need because the added demand of these, like this kind of rapid changing of things, I really think it gives us a shake up to be like, hey, now there's some things that need your attention. And if you attend to them, I mean, we all get to golden girls off into the sunset well into our 80s, women can live quite long and quite healthy lives. So,
Yeah.
I think that's a really beautiful part of your book that you're sharing or that you just shared now around our role in our own healthcare and like coming in as a partnership with our healthcare practitioners because I don't think any of us were raised that way either. It was like respect the professionals, they're the expert and you just follow orders, but it really is a team effort in you knowing your body best.
Yes. Maria Shriver says something that I love, which is you really have to become the CEO of your own healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
And right, I think we all need that like big CEO energy when it
Mhm.
comes to our health
Yeah.
because we, like think about a great CEO. They're confident, they're
Yeah.
empowered, they
Strategic.
talk
Hmm.
right, they're strategic, they talk the talk. And I think the more we can embrace that energy, I think the better care we're going to get, the better care we'll give, we'll show to ourselves,
Yeah.
and the better conversations we'll have with the people who take care of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. This is very exciting. I love I think as you say, that big CEO energy and just that kind of unapologetic energy around our health, which is such an important need. What about some of the new rules that you think we should come to live by? Can you share any sneak peeks on that one? Anything that,
Yes.
yeah, that kind of
I
impact our mindsets?
I would love to. So I think, gosh, when it comes to the rules of women's health, I had a friend who said, ladies, for far too long we've been letting other people make the rules for us. It's time
Mm,
to make some for ourselves.
yeah.
And I think, yeah, when it comes to the rules, it's like we're talking a lot about it, owning our health, right? Owning our health care and taking charge. I think when I think of some of the new rules as compared to the old ones, it's like some of the things that surprised me throughout this process of working on the book, right? And so, for example, breast health. A lot of times we think we just need our annual mammo and that's fine, right? Which may be, but actually, when it comes to breast cancer prevention, what we really need to be thinking about is doing a lifetime risk assessment. So there's a really simple calculator online, the Tyre Cusick breast health risk assessment, and you can take it and get a calculation. You can do it yourself and bring that calculation to your doctor and say, "Hey, I did this test. This is my lifetime risk of breast cancer. Can you review it with me? Make sure I did it accurately. And then can we come up with a plan for, the right screenings for me? Do I need more than a mammo? Do I need breast MRI every year? And it's like that's one big new rule. I think another one when it comes to heart health,
Mhm.
something that really surprised me when I interviewed cardiologists and especially preventive cardiologists, they say most women don't actually know that heart disease is our number one risk, really. And
Just
and
crazy when you think about it.
right? Because I think most women our age are like, oh, I'm worried about breast cancer or I'm worried
Mhm.
about some. But yeah, heart disease is huge. And I think it's one of those things that women don't worry about until later, when
Yeah.
actually we should be thinking about it now. And also, a big shocker to me is that if you ever had pregnancy complications, that your gynecologic history is actually a part of your heart health picture.
Really?
So, right?
Wow.
Pregnancy complications like gestational diabetes or preeclampsia actually can predict heart issues later on. So, these are some things that you should bring up with your gynecologist and then potentially even a preventive cardiologist to just go over. Yeah, it's interesting, right?
That's I did, and is this all in the book?
It's all in the book.
Ah,
Yeah.
so excited. That's
Yeah, and
very
I really
exciting.
did. I tried in the book to call out like sort of facts, and it's a dense book, but there's a lot of different boxes where you can dip in and dip out so you can kind of tuck in. Yeah, so the book really each chapter is filled with sort of quote unquote new rules, right? Of how we can care for ourselves and how we can think about our health from a real holistic way to
Mm.
again take care of ourselves and get the care we deserve.
Mm. Random question, but are the 137 voices that you kind of interview and talk about in the book, are they all from like North America? Are they from the world? Are they
Yeah, they're all in North America, mostly in the United States, I would say.
okay?
Perhaps a few in Canada, but yeah, mostly all North America.
I'm always just so curious because I know I'm Canadian originally, so I'm always and I know the difference. There's a difference in how health is visited and where, how it's progressed in the two countries. So it's always so interesting just to know where the angles are coming from there. But I love that.
Yeah.
So, and how do you hope people read this book? Like
Yeah,
if
so
every chapter is a bit of a new rule, yeah, how do you hope they take it?
when I set out to write this book, I really wanted to cover my bases. It's a broad book. So a lot of overall books on women's health in the past have
Mhm.
really focused on what we now refer to as bikini medicine. It's your
Ah,
breasts, your gynecologic health, right?
ah,
And so there's that in this book as well, sexual health and tons on birth control methods and
oh, wow.
really comprehensive when it comes to bikini medicine, but it also goes beyond that. So there's a chapter on gut health, a chapter on um, actually, gut health is part of immune health. Well, no, I actually think there are two chapters: gut health, immune health, brain health, heart health, dermatology, our
Oh my
skin,
gosh. Yeah.
mental health. And so, really, I started thinking of this book as sort of a narrative reference. So, ideally, you have it on your shelf. And then, if you're diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, or
Yeah.
if your sister just got a breast cancer diagnosis, or if you're just sort of like, gosh, I have my first mammogram, or I have my
Mm,
first fill in the blank, you can flip to that chapter and at least get a little more background on
yeah.
the topic. So
Right.
again, you can come to that doctor's appointment and have just a better conversation.
Yeah.
I had a really fun experience with a new primary care physician in the midst of writing this book, and I remember sitting there and I started talking about what was going on with my health, and she just looked at me and I could almost see her eyes start to sparkle. And it was like she said to me, she was like, it's so fun talking to you because you have this like really good baseline of information and so we can get more done. And I think that's
Mhm.
my hope is for every reader to like be able to tuck into that chapter before they're seeing a specialist and then have that really great interaction with their doctor who says, wow, you know a lot about this. Let's really dive in and get you the information you need.
Oh yeah. That just gave me shivers when you said that because I think that sounds what an amazing gift to create the world because you're right, understanding that if you can come in at a high school level versus a kindergarten level, like you can get there faster, which is so valuable.
And I think on that note too, you can get there faster and you can also have confidence in yourself, right? Because
Hmm.
I think so often we doubt ourselves
Yeah.
because we're in that flimsy paper gown in our gynecologist's
Yeah.
office and we're like, oh, there's a total power differential and we're probably already a little nervous, which is so normal. And I think that then if we can just like take a deep breath and say, wait a second, I've got some background knowledge here and I'm a smart cookie and I'm going to share with you what I know and then ask you, "Hey, how does that sound?" And here's what I'm going through. It just makes us feel empowered.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So it's almost like a Bible of women's health with individual chapters. So you can read the whole thing or you can really target in to refresh your mind anytime a situation may arise.
That was my goal. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited. Was there anything that really stuck out to you that you wish women knew kind of about their cyclical health, about their hormonal health specifically in their midlife, their 30s, 40s, and 50s?
Yeah, I think there's a whole chapter on hormone health, and I
Mm.
think really when I started tucking into this and learning, frankly, about my hormones, one big aha came out, jumped out at me, which is that we blame our hormones for so much. And other people blame our hormones for so much. And hormones are so cool and they're so complicated. And
Yeah.
they're, hormones are such an integral part of what makes us who we are and how we are, and they drive our cycle. And so instead of, having other people blame us like, oh, you're so hormonal, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten that?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
even, I know I can say honestly, I've said, it's that time of the month, I'm just really hormonal. And it's like,
Yeah.
I've stopped doing that. No, no,
Yeah.
like hormones are so cool, and they really, when you know a little bit more about them, you can understand, oh, like this might be happening because I'm at a point in my cycle where my estrogen is probably really high or really low.
Yeah.
Certainly when perimenopause hits, hormones go really kind of wild, right? And
Yeah.
so, while there's no real understanding exactly where they are at
Yeah.
what point, I think just having a basic understanding can help us appreciate our bodies more.
Yeah, and not blame the messenger a little bit. I often think of our sex hormones, especially as just like little messengers. So they're like little drones delivering things around, and you can't get mad at them if the package is wrong sometimes, or if they took the wrong route. It's like there's reasons for these things, and they can be such a beautiful health notification to you as to something else that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and I also feel too like we don't say when men are a little bit irritable, oh, he's so hormonal.
No,
But man, they've got hormones too,
yeah,
just and many of the same ones, just in really different proportions. And so I think that was very interesting to me too. In the hormone chapter, you learn like, oh wait, women have testosterone,
yeah,
and so why are we, genderizing hormones,
yeah.
It's
And they are
interesting.
just as irritable sometimes.
Absolutely. And get a pass for it, unlike us, where we're so hormonal, right? So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And we get, it's like, oh, that you just get kind of blamed for it, not kind of looking at the deeper issues. So, oh, well, that's good. I like that. That's a really good
Yeah.
share.
And I think
Um,
also with our cycles too, there is a whole section on menstrual health because I
mhm.
think for something that we do, around every 28 days, though it varies greatly, right? What
Yeah.
normal is, it's like, again, to make it personal, I think for years I just sort of kind of hated my period,
Mhm.
and it was like, ugh, like it's here, you sort of, and when you know more about it, you can just kind of do this little deeper dive inside your own body and say, oh, that's what's happening. Oh, huh, maybe that's not normal. Maybe it's something I should talk to my doctor about. Or just maybe, wow, body, thank you. You're right on schedule this month
Yes.
at day 28.
Yeah. I love when they talk about it like your, fifth or sixth vital sign. You're just knowing
Oh,
like it tells you a lot about the health that you're in. I mean, you talked about your heavy periods, and we know there's a deeper issue. It's like every month it's coming like a sign being like, hey, this isn't right. Pay attention to me.
yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
it's okay to pay attention, right? It's okay to
Yeah.
have that conversation and to talk to each other about it. It's like I think for younger women listening who are, like, oh, we're all talking about menopause. That's great, but like for the woman in her 20s and 30s, it's like let's start talking about our cycles and normalizing that and not just saying like, oh, it's no big deal. Or yeah, I think the more we can talk about it, the more we start to say, huh, this might
Yeah.
not be normal for me, right?
I love that. I think to your point around just even the conversations that we're able to now have at dinner with our female and male partners, like very more openly normalizes it, I think,
Yeah.
for the next generation. But even like that was an interesting what you said around problems we have during pregnancy can speak a lot to our health later on. I mean, your period in your 20s and 30s can tell you a lot about what your perimenopause and menopause is going to be like if that's not changed. So I love that this book kind of spans the ages, it seems like. Do I have that right?
You do,
Yeah.
definitely. We start with puberty, and I think it was an interesting chapter. I don't have kids, but I have two nieces who are in puberty right now. And when I reported this book, I realized, gosh, puberty has changed a lot
Oh,
since
really?
I went through it. Yeah. And it's just different, you know? It's like happening a little bit earlier in girls. And there even from big issues like that, and we have more environmental toxins now, and kids
Mhm.
are a little bit heavier, all of these things experts think are contributing to girls going through puberty a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But also we have things like period underwear now, you
Yeah.
know, and like just simple things like that. And I think we're
Yeah.
also taking a more progressive approach. You know, I interviewed Dr. Karen Natterson, who's an incredible puberty expert, who said, you know,
Mhm.
don't you want young boys to know about what girls go through and vice versa so that they can be allies for each other on the playground, you know, instead of the,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, look at the, you know, red stain that might
Yeah.
have happened back in the 80s or even 90s, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so puberty, sexual health goes to the gynecologic health. And then exactly like how do we tee ourselves up later in life to have an ideal health span, right? We're talking about now, it's not just about your lifespan, it's about how healthy you are for the years you're here.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, Megan, I'm super excited about this book. Yeah, I think it's going to really make a big impact and change a lot of lives. Random question: will it be on Audible? Like, will there be a voice version as well?
It is actually going to be on Audible, but I am not narrating it. So
Oh,
I know someone else is going to be doing that. It's yes. So but you can get it on Audible, on audiobook, on yeah, it's yeah.
well, you have an excellent voice, so I would have loved to hear you read it, but we will be listening to it either way. Either way.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
I think, I know we've covered a lot of things in here so well, which is great. Even all the any other, am I missing anything on the new rules? Anything else that you really feel like, or maybe let's do this. In with the experience and what you have learned, and even some of the changes you've made as a result of this, for anyone listening right now who feels overwhelmed, and we're talking in perimenopause, any suggestions on first steps since we can't get the book till January?
Yes.
Because that would be our
So
first step.
yeah, I think, you know, you and I were talking before we hopped on
Mm,
about perimenopause actually being an opportunity, you
mm,
know, or menopause in general, that midlife transition as being an opportunity for good things, to usher in really good things. And I think that was one big takeaway I had working on the menopause transition chapter, which is like we're talking a lot about the big bummers of menopause lately, which is super important. And we should keep talking about the big bummers like hot flashes and night sweats and you know the things that we want to ask our doctors about how we can treat, right? But there are also really big upsides, you know, in midlife we kind of come into our own, we sort of you know, we get clearer about what we want and what we don't want. We kind of have no time for the stuff that we doesn't fill our cups, so to speak. And so I think, you know, we can really look at this midlife transition in a positive way. You know, in addition to no more periods, no more having to worry about birth control. You know, the Chinese symbol for menopause is second spring,
I
which
love
I
that.
isn't that amazing? It's like
That's so
such an
beautiful.
opportunity. And one of the doctors I interviewed for this chapter, Dr. Heather Bartos, put it so well. She's like, you know, perimenopause, you're on a whitewater rapid ride. You're going down, you're hitting bumps, it's thrilling, it's terrifying, it's awful, it's great. And then once menopause comes, it's like the whitewater is done. You're in the open, placid, like you've gone on the ride, and there's so much potential in that space, you know? And so I think that's something I really want people to walk away. Certainly women in midlife is just knowing like, wow, like this is has potential to really um be like the start of the next great chapter of my life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to women just walking away from this book, really my hope is that they feel empowered. They're like, you know what? I did know a lot of this information and then I learned some new information.
Mm,
And now I'm even more confident in myself to be able to talk about all the things, you know,
yeah.
with my friends, with my
Yeah.
daughters, with my nieces, with my doctors, so
Yeah.
that we really can feel like, you know, yeah, I've got this. I know how to
Yeah.
optimally care for myself.
Empowered, it sounds like. You just want them to feel
Totally.
inspired and empowered because, yeah, I think things are when we feel like we understand ourselves a lot more. I mean, that just kind of creates a better bond with our own body, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, totally. And I don't know about you, but I think a lot of women, we're very outward focused. We're
Mhm.
doing for others. We're working, we're juggling so much. And I think it's really important to take a minute and dive in and sort
Yeah.
of do a little scan, you know? And I think especially for women in midlife, it's like, wait a second, is the dog getting more veterinarian appointments than I'm getting
Yeah.
healthcare appointments? Like, let's take an assessment of that, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe, you know, really do a check-in and be like, how do I feel? How is my energy compared to what it used to be?
Mm.
How's my mood? How's my physical health? How's my body feel after a workout now compared to before? And I think, you know, if you really just, that's one thing you can do, is just write a list of all the things that have changed, all the things that you feel, you know, are great, all the things you'd want help on, and then prioritize that list so that when you do go to your doctor, you know, you can go through it with her or him and say, here's what's up for me. Like, what can we tackle today? And then what should I make another appointment about? Or what specialist should I see to really make sure I'm on it with my healthcare?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I know you mentioned obviously, dealing with having a hysterectomy. You talked about changing and starting to resistance training. Was there anything else that you changed after the research you did for this book and writing the book?
Yes, and this is not a fun one, but I will say I have really changed my relationship to alcohol. And
Ah,
I
can be.
just wow, it really became clear that it was never like I was drinking heavily, but I was definitely in the glass of wine to unwind
Yeah,
every night-ish,
yeah,
and I just don't do that anymore.
yeah.
I think part of it is my body started talking to me and I was able to listen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like once I hit around, I'd say I was about 44 and I was like, whoa, like things are
Yeah,
feeling different if I have two glasses of wine. And then
totally.
really the research in this book that I did for this book, where it was just like, gosh, there are pretty much no benefits except for the fun factor. So I've really changed my relationship to
Yeah,
alcohol, and frankly, I've broken up with it. You know, it's not a never, but it's almost
so
never.
rarely. Yeah,
It's
you're on a good
never.
trial separation. Maybe not divorced, but we're getting there.
We are. We are. And then yeah, I mean, I think really the, you know, the hysterectomy, oh, yeah, that was really empowering because it was something I really resisted. I didn't want to do it. But again, I would urge people, no matter what you're dealing with, whatever health condition it is, to really educate yourself. The education around my options helped me have really great conversations with doctors. And frankly, it helped give me the confidence to say, like I think I need to interview multiple surgeons, and
Yeah.
not from my desk on the phone like I did for this book. I made appointments with multiple potential surgeons and really asked them questions so that, you know, I think again, I wanted to feel really good about who I chose for this major surgery, and having that information to be able to have really great conversations with them helped me land on the right doctor for me. And so I would say that's another big thing across the board. It wasn't, now it's like, okay, that surgery's behind me, but it's like I have choice when it comes to who I see for my health. And I think every woman can be a health journalist, so to speak, you know, and really try to say, wait a second, I'm going to find the right information. I'm going to ask the right questions, whether it's with a doctor, whether it's looking at something that's on Instagram and saying, is this accurate? Should I
Yeah.
believe this or should I second guess it?
Yeah, I love that. You're empowering women to be curious and to get the answers that work for them, not necessarily what works for everyone around them.
Yes.
Like,
And to talk to each other. You know, I think what's really fun. I was at a party the other night and a newer friend who I know from the gym actually came over to me and she said, okay, so you wrote a women's health book. I need to talk to you. I'm having, you know, it's sex is painful. She's in her 50s, later 50s. And I was like, okay, like, are you talking to your doctor about vaginal estrogen? And she's like, no. And I said, oh gosh, okay. And so I think what I aim to do with this book is guide readers through. It's like I'm a health journalist. I knew exactly who to talk to for all these different topics. And
mhm.
it's like I think this book is going to be sort of like you're consulting with your health journalist friend who's not a
Oh,
doctor,
yeah,
but who knew who to talk to. So you're like, oh, okay, like I'm having some pain with sex. What should I ask my doctor about? You
yeah.
know, and what are the conversations I should be having about these various aspects of my health that are all really important?
Yeah, because even if you do think about it ahead of time, it can get really uncomfortable in those situations, depending on, who you're talking to and how you're feeling that day, and you might not end up even asking your questions. So, I
Totally.
love that. It's like your own personal diary and guide, your girlfriend's guide to the new rules of women's health. I love it.
That's it. Totally.
Wonderful. Megan, this has been amazing. I feel like I'm really excited for the book. I'm very excited for, and I want you to tell us where to get it. But before you do that, I always like to end the podcast with this. What is one raw, unfiltered piece of advice that you would like the women listening to know about their health and body right now?
Believe yourself. What
Oh,
you're experiencing is happening to you. No
yeah.
matter what anyone says, no matter what doctor says it or what health influencer says it, or yeah, or what you read, it's like what you're experiencing is what you're experiencing, and it deserves airtime.
Yeah, I love that. That was so beautiful. Um, how do we get into your world right now? And where do we, can we pre-order the book? If not, where do we get the book? When do we get the book? Tell us the things.
Yes, you can pre-order the book, which is really the best way to support authors, really. And you can get the book at newrulesofwomenshealth.com. And it'll take you to a little bit more about me, where you can find me on socials and contact me, and also where you can pre-order the book.
So exciting. I will make sure all of this is in the show notes, sisters. I feel like Megan, thank you so much for the effort you put into writing this great guide for us and for explaining it more in depth today. I know I'm really excited to get mine.
Thank you so much. I have absolutely loved chatting with you, and I'm super excited.
Yes. Actually, one last question. What's next? What will you write on next?
Good
Do you know? Are you
question.
allowed to
Good,
share?
good question. I'm gonna take a big vacation.
Yeah.
I will tell you that.
After the book
After
launch.
after the book launch, I am going to take a big vacation. But I will continue to write about women's health
Yeah.
because there's a reason I've been doing it for 25 years now. It's endlessly fascinating. There's so much more that we have to learn, and
Yeah.
that's the beauty of science, is that it's always evolving. So my sincere hope is that this book needs a big old update because
Yeah.
we've learned so much more. The book is dedicated to my nieces. I have two little nieces, eight, sorry, gosh, they're 10 and 12 now. And my niece Sydney is 22.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I really wrote this book as a love letter to them. Hopefully they'll know so much more about their health so that they can take the baton and pass it forward.
And pass it forward. Exciting. Well, we are excited to learn more from you. Thank you so much, Megan. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. So thrilled to be here.
Yeah. Okay, sisters. Now we have another amazing tool. And this is like a full spectrum tool to be more in your life and not just less on a scale. We'll catch you in the next episode.